Forza Motorsport, the latest addition to the Turn 10 catalog of racing games, and to be honest, I've had a lot more fun in game than I was expecting. I mean, I think you can see that considering every video I've uploaded is about the game so far. However, as is the case with every game, there are always a few things that probably could have been done better when you put it under a microscope. So in this video, I'm going to go over 5 things that I believe Turn 10 could have done to improve their latest entry to the Motorsport series. Hope you guys enjoy the video. Now let's get into it.
Number 1. Penalties.
This is probably one of the more controversial topics in all of motorsport when it comes to slapping drivers on the wrist for poor conduct during a race. Penalties can come in all different types and levels of severity if we were talking about racing as a whole, but something about the penalty system in Forza Motorsport just feels a little, well, off. I can't quite figure out exactly how the game determines if a penalty should be applied, but it sure lets some pretty ridiculous stuff go. I totally recognize that this isn't something like iRacing and it's not meant to be a 100% realistic simulation, but let's be honest. When some other guy sends it into the first turn at Mach 1 and we're just gonna let that go, it can be a little frustrating. Now I'll admit, there have been a couple incidents where I'm definitely the one at fault and don't receive a penalty, and I think nothing of it even though I completely deserve the penalty. Racing incidents are racing incidents. I just appreciate a little tweaking to this system. And while we're talking about penalties, I'm also not sure how I feel about every penalty being a time penalty. Specifically, if you leave the track, sure, a time penalty makes perfect sense. If there's contact between some cars, I could see some cases where taking some time could make sense, but in other cases, a penalty basically does nothing if the driver at fault gains a clear advantage and just manages to get far enough ahead by the end of the race. I know every game does it a little bit differently, but I'd be totally fine if there was a system like the one in Gran Turismo, where drivers might have to slow down to serve a penalty, or simply just give back the position when called for. These aren't perfect systems, but to me, they might have a great effect on the overall outcome of a race depending on the circumstances.
Number 2. Player ratings.
Now the player rating system is kinda nice at first glance, but then you start to think about it more, and it doesn't really do anything more for you other than letting you know how you're doing specifically. How do you know how well you're doing? The safety rating is pretty decently explained, but then you see your driver rating, and unless you do a quick Google search, there's no real way of knowing what a good rating looks like. Is it a lower number? Is it a higher number? The game doesn't really tell you directly, and to keep you from clicking off this video to look it up, I'll just tell you, the higher the better. You're welcome. Now when I say the player rating doesn't really do anything more, what I mean by that is, what good is your player rating to anybody other than you? It's because only you can see it. Sure, the game uses these numbers for matchmaking and multiplayer, but I think it would make people care 10 times more if their skill rating was actually a public rating that other people could actually see and gauge the skill of the lobby. I mean, I suppose you could just trust the game's matchmaking capabilities and infer that you're racing against people of a similar rating, but there's no real way of knowing. Just imagine if you could look at a driver's license and see their rating while you're in the lobby. Are they a safe driver? What's their average qualifying or race finish position? To me, that would add a whole nother level and create purposeful driving and give us a better idea if we're driving where we belong.
Number 3. Tires.
So the issue I have with tires is more or less a visual thing. I love the dynamic that tires add to the overall race strategy you employ. As it should. Motor racing is strongly dictated by tire strategy, so I'm glad Forza considered this. But if we were to look at the in-race standings, I quite literally do not care the number of pit stops a driver has made. Could this be helpful information in longer races? Yeah, maybe. But you could also just take a page from Formula 1's book and show us what tire compound people are racing on. I personally believe you can learn a lot more about the state of a race and your current position by looking at people's tires. Now before you tell me, "But Fuller, you can see what tires people are using before the race starts," let me save you the trouble. There is no reality in which I'm going to remember what compounds people are on halfway through a race. I can't even remember what I had for breakfast. So yeah, I'd love it if we could see tire compounds instead of pit stops. Hopefully people agree with that. I don't know. Now I also have an issue with the tire system in things like career mode, especially when it's raining, but I could go off on a whole other tangent about that, and I'm not going to waste your time. I just think it's kind of dumb.
Number 4. Spectator Mode.
Okay, let's talk about Spectator Mode. This might just be me, but I'm honestly a bit disappointed that there isn't any form of Spectator Mode in the game right now, and as far as the community knows, it doesn't sound like it'll ever be a thing. As I was preparing for the video, I found an article from this guy named Roy Norris, that was sharing some news that was stating,
Forza Motorsport Spectator Mode is not supported at launch, is confirmed by the game's creative director Chris Zecchi. Moreover, we don't expect Spectator Mode to arrive in the future either. Zecchi stated it's not really the racing we had intended.
Now, can I live without Spectator Mode? Sure. It's not going to stop me from playing the game, but I've had some ideas for other videos that could really benefit from having a spectator in the session. But those might just have to stay on the drawing board unless something else changes. Again, I'll live, but just kind of a bummer.
Number 5. Rewards.
Now this last one's pretty simple. I would just love it if the game would hand out more rewards like they've done in previous motorsport titles, or even the Horizon series. I have no problems with earning credits for stuff so I can purchase more cars, but you could also just give us some more cars or driver gear or things like that for leveling up, even if it's only like every 10 levels. I mean, sure, if you complete different series in the career mode, you can unlock some pretty cool stuff, but just earning copious amounts of credits doesn't really incentivize anything for me other than, oh, cool, I can buy another Koenigsegg Jesko that I won't drive. If you own the car pass, I guess that gives you something more, but it has less to do with playing the game and more to do with your wallet. So I don't know, I feel like I'd just appreciate maybe some more rewards. You let me know. And there you have it. Those are some of the things that I've noticed in the early stages since release that probably could have been done differently or ultimately just make the experience better from my perspective. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you agree with any of these things? Did I miss anything? I think this is a solid addition to the catalog, but could be even better if it considered some of these things. Well, that just about does it for the video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and if you did, I'd greatly appreciate your support. If you made it to the end, let me know what other things you'd like to change in the comments below. Until then, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.